Welcome back, number 7, and I'll share with you just in a minute what that means as far as the title. You probably see it up on the screen, but this comes from the top 10 cheat codes to creating a professional quantum leap in your business. And this also just applies to professionals that maybe are not business owners, but working for and with another company. So I'm going to tell you a quick story, and this is pretty fascinating to me because it seems that the pushback against technology has been going on quite a bit longer than any of us have been alive. So there were a group of people called Luddites, and they came from a gentleman named Ned Ludd, who was widely regarded as a legendary weaver. And these folks were predominantly weavers and textile makers and stuff like that. And so Ned was known to be just incredible at the skill that he leveraged on creating textiles. Now, with that said, as textile factory owners would put in more technology, in the kind of the 1900s time period and even earlier, the the pushback was pretty strong. And so with that in mind, people were angry because they were worried that their jobs were going to be taken away and, couldn't feed their families and stuff like this. And so they would stage covert raids and go into these factories at nighttime and then destroy equipment that was being put in place. And so they referred to themselves as Luddites, and they were following and supporting Ned Ludd, even though he was known as the excellent person in the space. His name was associated with excellence, and they were associated with not being adaptable and being destructive. And they would write these letters of demands to the owners of the mills and stuff like that. So they really created a bad name for themselves. Obviously their positions are no longer around. But with that said, just the general pushback against adaptability was not a good look for them. And history remembers them as being not great, despite the fact that they were committed to doing things in a predominantly a good way as far as how they were creating things. And they took a lot of pride in their work and stuff like that. But they were not willing to bend when it came to changes in the market and stuff like that. And so history remembers bad sports. They definitely were not known for doing anything other than breaking things after they became, quote, the Luddites. But with that in mind, that name is still assigned to people these days who refuse to change with the times. And so, I'm not advocating that technology needs to replace everything and everyone, not by any stretch of the imagination. But living in harmony with technology because it's not going anywhere is definitely a strong way to go about things as a professional, and if you own a business as a business owner. Having conversations with people, it's not rare to hear someone say, oh, technology, it's just, I don't get it, I'm not interested, nothing, they come up with all these excuses. And it's interesting because of the fact it's almost like the excuses that sometimes we tell ourselves, like, oh, I'm not in sales or something like that. Everybody's in sales, and the thing is that everybody that is in the workplace is engaged in technology, whether they like it or not. And so the times have come and gone where you could work a career and not really have to know how to do technology. And the only way that this might be an excuse is that if you are, a person that owns a multi-million or even billion-dollar company that just says, I don't need to know technology, I pay people for that. But with that said, if you're a small business owner, or even a medium-sized business owner, chances are technology is a part of your life, and being dismissive of it is not a sound professional strategy. And so I hear this from time to time, and all I think to myself when people say, "Oh, technology, I don't get it. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to learn," all this kind of stuff. I think to myself, well, you're either going to be laid off, or your business is going to close, or a million other negative things are going to happen because of the fact that you refuse to adapt with the times. So, as a business owner, regardless of what you're in as far as business, or if you are a professional working for another company, if your business closes, if things go sideways, if a deal goes south, if you are working for a company and you get laid off or you get demoted, or a salary reduction or a workforce reduction, or all these different things that can happen. Like, one, you certainly can't plan for all those things. You can know what the markets are doing and insulate yourself by upskilling and stuff like that, but you cannot know what's going to happen at all times, regardless of where you are professionally. But what you can do is be adaptable. And the best way to be adaptable is to embrace things as they change. And it's not, Craig Rochelle says this, and I think this is so good. people don't hate change. They hate the way they're made to change. And so I think this is a call to companies that when you do have to institute a change, whether it's a software change or otherwise, be very mindful of how you're asking people to change, because I think this is really fascinating. And again, Craig Groeschel said this. He said, people like to change their hair. They like to, update their houses or move or whatever. But, if change is forced upon them and they don't understand why or how it's going to impact them or how it's going to benefit them, then they tend to kind of recoil against that. So companies can do a better job by instituting change in a way that people embrace it. As professionals, individual autonomous professionals, we need to realize that change does not have to be threatening, and especially around technology, AI, automation, robotics, all those things. Now is the time to get in on it and understand it. And here's the thing with something like AI, you can go in there and type in, teach me about, and then put in a topic like teach me about generative AI, teach me about, whatever, how to write apps with no code or something like that. The list is limitless, and you can learn a lot of things just by going into AI and doing that, but also just setting aside the time and becoming consistent. We don't really remember, none of us remember how hard it was to walk for the first time, but yet we fell a whole bunch. And it seems that, most folks do okay with walking today, except for, folks that, are unable to walk. There's a different uh, um, set of application there. But with that in mind, if you are a person that walks on 2 feet today, keep in mind that the falling that went on during the first iteration